you take a look at the actual numbers. In this building, 3 wins in their last 13 games. That's not good winning percentage. At home, though, they are 2-13 in their last 15 games against the London Knights. So for whatever reason, whether it's psychological, whether it's coaching, whether it's just the rosters, the Kitchener Rangers seem to have an issue with this London Knights franchise. I'm not even going to call it a hockey team or a hockey club because it really is the franchise. When you look at those numbers, it's not just a couple players. Let's run it back. 5-23 in their last 28 games against this hockey team. 5 wins in 28 games. I feel like any team can beat another team 5 times over 28 games. The numbers aren't in the Rangers' favor, no matter how you crunch them right now.
And they're going to have to change those numbers or work against those odds with Marcus Vandenberg making his second career Ontario Hockey League start. I referred to him as the emergency starter. I guess a little bit different than that. Keegan Jackson's the real e-bug around here, the emergency backup for the Rangers. But Marcus Vandenberg has been pressed into service, as we know. We talked about last night. He looks okay in that. He looks like a guy that's been playing so far in the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, but he's been holding his own. He certainly hasn't been responsible for some really bad gaffes that have cost the Rangers. Last night, Kitchener, while playing hard, just found themselves overmatched against a really good Flint team.
That's basically it. I thought, and maybe, I think you agreed with me the way the broadcast went, but you and I thought they played a little better than their head coach did. He thought their defensive game could have been a little better. And while I think they did play pretty well defensively, I understand him wanting them to play a better game in their own end because they did give up a few chances to Flint. But we talked about that in that game, Mike. It seemed like every mistake the Rangers made ended up in the back of their head. And that's just how this game goes at the major junior level some years. And when you're a team like Kitchener is and rebuilding and looking towards the future, and you're facing a team like Flint who's built heavy up front offensively, they're going to make you pay for those mistakes. And that's what happened last night at the Otter. I really liked Marcus Vandenberg's game, and his head coach seemed to as well. He said that after 5 minutes into the game, I kind of forgot that it was his first OHL start, just because of how calm he looked and how in the moment he was. I thought his feet work looked really good again. There were a few mistakes that he would want back, I'm sure, but overall, I don't think you can really be upset at Marcus Vandenberg for last night's loss.
Sloaner really knows how to make an entrance, eh? Greg Sloan, who calls the games on Rogers TV for London here, every time he walks into the press box, the guy, he commands.
Everyone knows Greg's here.
The press box, absolutely true. All right, the London Knights, is it just me, or are they falling behind the field in the Western Conference right now? The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the Flint Firebirds are starting to climb. Whither thou London Knights, Chris Pope?
Well, let's take a look at some more numbers, Mike.
I love the numbers.
The London Knights right now sit atop the Midwest Division with 45 points. That slots them second in the Western Conference, trailing the Sault Greyhounds, who have 51 points, so 6 points back. The Sault picked up a lone point last night. They lead Flint by 1 in that division. And you look and you think, wow, the Sault and Flint both have more points than the London Knights. And then you take a look at the games played, and there's a 7 and 8 game difference between London at 33 games played, the Sault at 41, Flint at 40. So yes, if you look at the standings, they are 5 points and 6 points back, but you have a lot of games in hand, and this is a London Knights hockey club that wins a lot more than that.
So let me get this straight. You just said that the London Knights have played 33 hockey matches.
Correct.
Which is not even half the season. And unless I missed, like, Groundhog Day, that was earlier this week, so this is February the 5th. I didn't, like, Rip Van Winkle my way through winter and fall asleep. This is February the 5th, and London has not even played half of its hockey.
Welcome to the second half of the Ontario Hockey League in COVID year, as we'll call it, because yes, we've talked at length on our podcast, OHL Stories, every Friday, and on this broadcast for every Kitchener Rangers home and away game, that the schedule is wonky right now. There is a ton of hockey left to be played, and it's so weird because your brain automatically goes into it. I think, I was thinking about it earlier today. At this time of the year, this is a good thing. And then I think to myself, some teams aren't even at the halfway point. I need to rethink where we are in the calendar year and just continually look at games played for certain teams. When you're 7 games points. You just have to basically points per games played right now almost. It's weird. This back half of the season is going to be crazy. We still don't know what the league is going to do when it comes to scheduling of the regular season, playoffs, and Memorial Cup, and so on and so forth. But yeah, to look at the London Knights, here we are beginning of February, almost at the halfway point of February, if we want to really talk about it. At least it feels like we are, after January went so slow. But for them not to even have made it halfway through the season, as much as we like to talk about our schedule being busy, the Rangers have played 3 extra games. This Knights hockey club is going to be playing a lot of hockey in the next 2 months.
Yeah, it didn't help that they missed their entire weekend last when they didn't go stateside for some games with Saginaw, etc. Nonetheless, we talked to Rangers head coach Mike McKenzie yesterday, and he corroborated something that we have been talking about. Given where the Rangers are at, given that this was a sell-off year, the Rangers should be, I think, aspiring to being the best of the bottom bunch. 6th out of the, you want to be number 1 of the bottom 5 teams. And Mike McKenzie said he had no reason to disbelieve that it's attainable for the Rangers to reach that spot. Obviously, you have to keep in mind that the other 4 teams with you in that bottom 5 are shooting for the same thing. And maybe nobody is on a better trajectory right now than the Erie Otters. BJ Adams has got those Otters rolling right now. 3rd hottest team in the Ontario Hockey League over the past 10. Flint with an 8-2 mark. Mississauga in their points in 9 of 10. 7-1-0-2. But at 7-2-1 in their past 10. Points in 8 of their past 10 hockey games. Or to put it another way, 15 out of the last 20 points for the Erie Otters.
Yeah, that's the one that stands out to me. 15 points in your last 10 games. If you're on that type of clip for a full season, you're probably sitting pretty at the top of your division. And after that coaching change, it took a little while for BJ Adams to get that team playing well. And right now, we saw them a couple weeks ago. I even got complaints that I was too high on them during the game. Watch the game. This is a team that earlier this season, I think it was about game 10, maybe 12, we were in the media room when things were open at the auditorium, and I said to everybody around us, I said, which team finishes last in the OHL and why is it Erie? Because everyone just expected that they were going to finish last, and this is a team that's rhymed off 15 of 20 possible points. You don't expect that, and now they're right there in the Western Conference. And when you have some confidence in this league as a young team, you start rhyming off all these points, you're right there for a postseason. Now they have a total different outlook. 2 months ago, they probably had the outlook of, you know what, let's move our rookies up, let's progress their play this season, and let's look towards next year because it's basically a write-off. Now they're thinking, we can get into the playoffs. We could be a 6th team if we keep playing the way we are right now. It's quite impressive what a coaching change has done to Erie Otters.
We'll see if Marcus Vandenberg, in basically a home game for him, the Strathroy boy playing here in London this afternoon. We'll see if he can backstop the Rangers to something impressive. It would be a huge mountain.
Dorchester.
Close enough to Strathroy?
Yeah,
I hope so. It's all Midwestern, Southwestern Ontario.
He used to come and watch games here, so.
There you go. Now he gets to watch the game from the crease. We'll see how he does. We'll see if the Rangers can pull off a wee bit of a mid-season miracle here at Budweiser Gardens this afternoon. Your pregame show is a presentation of Gord Harris and the team at Harris Law. We continue in conversation with Rangers head coach Mike McKenzie next as we go off the top. This is Kitchener Rangers.